No matter what the situation is, small or large situation, if we stop, think, and adopt a mental positive attitude, we can become more confident. We will be seen in a different way from others. We will realize that even in the toughest of the situations, there is always something positive that we can get from. If we think that way, even from a negative situation, if we look at what do we learn, what can we get from it? If we approach somebody before we do it, what are the positive factors or what are positive things that we can get from that person? Before getting into a meeting, what are the positive things that we are expecting from that meeting? Adopting that mental attitude requires practice. And that practice over time will become a habit in such a way that we do it unconsciously. When we do it that way, we will be radiating that positiveness in everything that we do, which will eventually take us to our biggest of our dreams and our biggest desires. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elvis. That was an excellent inspirational thought. I remember reading Turk's book's introduction, and he made the analogy that number one habit, cultivating a positive mental attitude, is like plugging the cord for your vacuum. If you don't do that, everything else you do, you may vacuum the entire house, but if the vacuum isn't running, you're not cleaning anything. So he likened that that positive attitude to that cord and how vital that is. So thank you for sharing that thought with us. Next up is our grammarian, and I want to introduce David Jones, who will fulfill that role tonight. David, do you mind giving us a rundown of your role tonight?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight I will be the grammarian. Grammarian has two roles. First one is to check on the amount of ahs, ums, you knows. They're called filler words, and they're words that we shouldn't use that often in speaking. We should pause when we're trying to think of something instead of filling them with these words. The other role that I have tonight is word of the day. And the reason we do word of the day is because it makes you think on your feet. It makes you have to incorporate something. For instance, you might be giving a speech at work, and last minute your boss says, don't forget to mention the Smith account. And you already have the speech, and now you got to throw the Smith account in. So this is the same thing where you're just going to add a word or a phrase in one of your speeches. It's not required, but you get kudos if you make it. And the word of the day is Alabama. For those of you who don't know, Alabama won the national championship last night. I'm not an Alabama alumni, but I do appreciate the football team. So the word of the day is Alabama, and I will have it after my name. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. I love the word of the day, Alabama, and you don't have to count this. I know that's cheating. Roll Tide. I will leave it there and introduce our next role timer, Julian Efford.
Thank you, Toastmaster. My name is Julian, and I will be your timer for the evening. So it's my job to time the prepared speeches, the table topics, and the evaluators. And the prepared speeches, you get 5 to 7 minutes with the grace period of 30 seconds on the beginning and end. For table topics, you get the 1 to 2 minute range, and you have to reach the 1 minute to qualify. And you have the 30-second grace period at the end. For evaluations, you have 2 to 3 minutes with the 30-second grace period on each side. I will be using the Toastmaster app, and it will show you the time. And it will also change from green when you reach the qualifying time to yellow in the middle, and then to red when you hit the end of the time, and then you still have that 30-second grace period at the end. After that is over, I will give an evaluation and let everyone know who qualified. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. As I think about the theme of the night, I will share a couple of things that are messy in the middle with you all, and some of them will be more brief than others. So what is messy in the middle? A hamburger, a cheeseburger is messy in the middle, and I'll leave it there. And introduce our next portion of the evening, which is prepared speeches. And normally we would have a ballot counter as well, but because we're in a virtual environment, our current president, David, will facilitate the poll for us. And that's how we will count our votes. And we have two speakers tonight. And the first one is going to be by Natalie. And Natalie is completing the dynamic leadership pathways. And this is her second speech for the evaluation and feedback assignment. Her title of her speech is Relativity of Reality. Without further ado, please welcome Natalie.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. Hope you all are doing well this evening. I am excited to be here with you and energized. I want to invite you all to stand up. If you feel inclined, now's the moment to unmute your microphones. We're going to do an exercise together. You can follow along by watching me, and I'll explain. Extend your right hand forward, and then we're going to extend our left hand, placing it behind the right, and we're going to work on hip rolls. So starting to the left, to the right, left, and right. And now we're going to say our affirmations together. Repeat after me. Yes, I'm sexy.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
sexy.
I'm sexy.
Yes, I got this.
Yes, I got this.
Yes. Let out a big yes.
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 Yes, I'm sexy.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
sexy.
I'm sexy.
Yes, I got this.
Yes,
Yes, I got this.
Yes. And
Yes.
it's been
Yes.
so it's you can let out a grunt as well. Ugh. And with that, I invite you to sit down. You are officially welcome to the Vixen Army. This is a body positive dance fitness class I began taking 8 years ago, and it brought my relationship with body, mind, and food full circle. You may be wondering, what does that have to do with the relativity of reality? Is reality fixed or is it relative? I'll let you decide. But first, I'd like to share with you a story. This is me at the age of 6. I knew I wanted to be a ballerina, and my mom enrolled me in dance class. As I made my way through the ballet world and reached middle school, my South American heritage began to claim its roots and my accented curves came in. I quickly discovered I was not the right shape for ballet, the right shape. Being young, I intuited that I needed to make a change. Without consulting an adult or an authority figure, my parents, I took matters into my own hands, and the logical option to me was to stop eating. That was how I could make a quick change. I began giving away my meals at lunchtime to friends and just skipping meals altogether. Soon enough, I became tired and fatigued. I would sleep through rehearsals and I couldn't make it to practice. So the very thing that I was working on changing for, I was no longer enjoying. My mom caught on, took me to the doctor. We got vitamins, supplements, and began a healthy eating regimen. And she said, "This is the end of ballet. We are not doing this, Natalie." After much negotiation, I convinced her to let me return to dance, this time jazz and hip hop. At the time, what I didn't realize was that we could consciously create our reality. And I had taken at face value at my young age what my teachers told me: you are not the right shape. In hindsight, I'm grateful. I'd been given a gift to step into conscious awareness and create my life. I see this now in retrospect. I chose to identify at that time my core values, which bubbled up: health and achievement. But they didn't have to be mutually exclusive. I merged them. And now I know that achieving my goals in a healthy way is key to me. This opportunity also led me to join dance team in high school and college since I chose an alternative mode of dance. It later led me to nutrition school where I became an integrated health coach. And 5 years ago, it led me to launch a food brand, Mesa Fresca, with my brother, where I incorporated my love of dance and food. And we like to say we shimmy when we chimmy because we love to dance in the kitchen. Fun fact, my brother, I like to joke, stole my career because he went on to become a ballet dancer. And he started at his career at the age of 15, which was considered late, and he moved to Russia and danced professionally. Last but not least, it led me to the Vixen Army 8 years ago. And in 2019, I became a certified instructor. This brought my journey full circle with food, dance, and nutrition. The affirmations we said today at the beginning are affirmations that we do at the start of every class. And it reminds us why we dance. Because we dance to let our hair down, to let loose, and to enjoy and just be ourselves. So there were a multitude of options or realities that I could have chosen from. Could have been mad at my teachers. I could have been mad at my mom. I could have been mad at the industry standard. Instead, I chose an alternative path, and you have the power to choose that as well. I'd like to invite you to close your eyes now. Place both hands over your heart. This is one of my favorite affirmations. Repeat after me. I am a conscious creator. I have the ability to create the life I most desire. Again, I am a conscious creator. I have the ability to create the life I most desire. You can open your eyes. Is reality real, fixed, or relative? That's up to you to choose. Thank you.
Amazing speech, and thank you, Natalie, for giving it again. We've gotten a version of this last week, and it's an even better version this time around. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for giving us those affirmations and getting us up and our heart rates going up at this time. So thank you. Our second speaker of the night is none other than Ali Tobin. He is one of our newest members, and David described Ali as the Mentos that is about to go into a Coke bottle, full of potential and about to burst. And I can't wait to hear his speech. Without further ado, please welcome Ali.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. Hello, fellow guests. Today, I'm going to give you a speech about the power of time. I just want to ask one question. Can somebody just tell me what time it is? Anybody tell me what time?
Timer?
No, what time is it?
6:53.
6:53, perfect. All right, let me ask you guys another question. If I was to give you $1 billion, what would you go buy? Now, I want you to use your imagination. I want you to think as big as you can. What would you buy with $1 billion? Anybody can ask.
Can I invest it? I'm investing it.
You're gonna invest it. Anybody, what would you buy with $1 billion? You gotta use your imagination.
More time.
More time. Great answer. Now, see, money equates with time. Because you can buy a lot of things. You can buy a car, you can buy shoes, you can buy a house. You could legitimately buy time, but truthfully, it's invisible. You can't buy time. It's really the only thing that we can't buy. It's the most important asset that we all have. It's amongst us every single day. When you go to the gym, when you wake up in the morning, when you go to sleep, when you go to work, time is everything. Time is around us all the time. The second most thing I feel as though you see more than your cell phones is the time. When you wake up in the morning, you're looking at the time. Now, why do I say time is the most important asset that we all have? I'm just going to give you guys a couple stats right here. Now, according to the Bureau of Labor Average, the average American works 44 hours a week. Now, according to the National Gallup, the average American sleeps 7 hours a day. Now, that 7 hours a day equals 49 hours a week. Also, the average American watches 44 hours of TV a day. That equals 28 hours a week. Now, if you total that equals 121 hours out of the week. Now, does anybody know how many hours it is in a week in general? Anybody? Still number out there.
A lot.
Anybody know? No, it's a 168 hours out of the week. See, the reason I'm talking about time right now, because time equates with your success. Because a lot of us have dreams and goals that we want to accomplish, but a lot of us can't figure out how to make the time. Now, from what I've learned just from studying successful people and from becoming a successful people myself, is that successful people make time, right? They're willing to do stuff that the average person doesn't do. They're willing to, stay up all night. They're willing to wake up super early. They're willing to sacrifice certain things to get what they want. They're willing to sacrifice time with their family. Some of them are cold-blooded and willing to sacrifice time with the kids. Some of them, when their grandma calls them, they says, I can't talk right now, I gotta work. It's just plain and simple. Now, I was watching this 50 Cent video, and when he was doing the movie for Get Rich, Die Trying, when he wasn't doing the movie, he was doing the soundtrack. And they had asked 50, they said, when do you sleep? And 50 said, I don't sleep. He said, I have an opportunity to make a dream become a reality. Because when you're trying to be successful, sleep is just one of those things that you don't worry about. Now, some of us may say, I need sleep, I need sleep. I feel as though we all need sleep also. Now, how do you manage your time? You just have to find it. What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice some of that time watching TV? Are you willing to sacrifice some of that time where you're just going out with your friends? Are you willing to sacrifice some of that time where you're just on social media? See, I feel like right now, what's going on right now in America, the bigger picture is our time. Like, what are we doing with our time right now? Because the sun does not stop for anybody. You're gonna wake up and these days gonna keep going by. Now, if you wanna be successful, you have to invest in sweat equity. And you guys may wonder, what is equity? I'll just give an example for houses. You may own a house, mortgage may be 100,000, the value of the property may be 150,000. The equity between the mortgage and the house is the equity. Now you have to ask yourself, what is your work ethic? Because you have to know that in order to be successful, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the hours. See, me personally, I've never been academically inclined. I went to college and then it went like this, and I figured out that's not for me. So what is gonna separate me from the average person? I have to outwork you. When that person is sleeping, I have to outwork them. When that person is eating, I have to outwork them. Now, when you gain this mentality, you will notice that you will start to separate yourself from your friends and your family. Your friends will call you and say, hey, let's go out. And you won't pick up the phone. Some of your family members may call you to try to get you to go to a function. You can't do it right now because you have to sacrifice some of those things because the only thing you want to do is be successful. So you have to find time. And so time equals freedom. See, successful people, they want freedom. I feel as though everybody wants to be free. For me personally, I really want to be financially free. But more than financially free, I want to be able to do what I want, whenever I want, however I want. And I feel as though we all have the capabilities of doing that right now. With everything that's going on, you can never let a good crisis go to waste. If you utilize your time in a good way, you put in the work, everything will come that you want to happen. It's that simple. Now, I'm just going to ask this question one more last time. Can anybody tell me what time it is?
6:59.
6:59.
6:59.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters. Thank you, for guests, for listening to me. This is Ali Topa speaking now.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for sharing your inspirational thoughts about time. And I can't agree with you more that the most important gift that we can give each other is our time and our presence. And I really appreciate everybody joining tonight and sharing that gift with each other. And that's why we also want to be very respectful of that time for each other. And we have a role completely dedicated to measuring time. And with that, I'll turn it over to Julian to give us the timers report.
All right, for the timers report, I had Natalie at 5:45, so that qualifies, and I had Ali at 5:44, so almost the exact same time.
Thank you, Julian, Mr. Timer. And you will see a poll on your screens now, so you can vote for your favorite speech. And while we do that, I will share one more thing that is messy in the middle, which is Whole30. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a reset diet, and I'm doing it right now. And if you go online and look at Whole30 timeline, you'll see that day 1 is very exciting, and day 11 is you want to kill all things, and you start seeing bagels floating around. That's the stage I'm in, and in the end, it'll be glorious. And I think day 14 or 15 is what they describe as tiger blood, and you don't have that mental fog, and you feel at your best, fully energized, and your skin glows, and your energy's off the roof. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not there yet, so I'm in the thick of the messiness of the middle. Next up is table topics, which is a fun portion of our meeting. I want to introduce Prisa as our table topics master to facilitate that portion. Prisa.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Greeting, fellow Toastmaster and guests. Tonight, I'm your table topic master, and my job is to facilitate table topics where guests and members will have opportunity to practice their impromptu speaking. I introduce a topic and call on speakers who we will given 2 minutes to speak on the subject. And tonight's table topic is superpowers. And for the first question, I need a volunteer, and I highly encourage our guests to volunteer because it will help you a lot with your impromptu speaking. So any volunteer, awesome. Parvinder, I hope I said it right, correct?
That's right, thank you.
Awesome. So the first question is, if you could have a superpower, what it would be and why? Just one superpower.
Thank you for the question. One superpower if I have, and what it could be. So tying back with the topics, I feel one superpower that I could have, that would be controlling my mind, because my mind wanders all day, all night long. And there were times when I did a lot better in my life, and there were times when I did a lot worse in my life. And how I see it is the way I reacted to the situation, rather than somebody else taking control of me. So I feel if I can control my life, my mind, the way I want to, that would be my superpower. And I think that's how people become more and more productive. That's how people win championships like Alabama did last night. So cheers to them. But that's my superpower that I want to have. Back to you, table topic master.
Thank you. That was an awesome speech. Thank you. So for the second question, who likes to become volunteer? Travis, awesome. If you had this power to change something in the world, what it would be? One thing in the world.
If I had the power to change one thing in the world, what would it be? The one thing that I would change that's happening in the world now would be to get rid of the COVID-19 sickness that's going around. I think that it would allow all of us to get back to our normal lives. I think it would allow a lot of us to get back to traveling, to spending time with our family, just allow us to get back to our normal lives. I think it would also help the people in the health industry. I think it would allow them to get back in a regular routine. And overall, I think it would just help the economy and everything just kind of get back to normal. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Yeah, I agree. I wish you had that power and you can change that. It will change a lot of things in the world. Thank you. Thank you for your speech. I mean, who wants to go next? Vanessa. If you were invisible for 12 hours, what would you do?
Well, Madam Table Topics Master, there have been times when I have wished I could be invisible, especially if I was in a situation where I just felt anxious around a bunch of crowds. And sometimes this happens to me where, especially with COVID, I just feel like I want to zoom past everyone and just, when I'm at the mall, just want to zigzag past all of the crowds. And that's not very socially acceptable to just run through people or run through a group of people. But lately I found myself, I was trying to do a couple errands and I was at the South Park Mall and there were way more people there than I thought should be there given the situation. And of course I was wearing a mask, I was being safe, but I kind of wish that I could just be a ninja and start running a little bit, maybe dart into a store and then carefully do a ninja roll and jump into the hallway and run in the opposite direction to get out of someone's way. And that was a time when I realized, you know what, I look ridiculous. I'm power walking way too quickly through the halls of this mall area. People are probably wondering what my deal is. And I did not feel like I was very socially acceptable. But if I had had an invisibility cloak with me that day, I could have just put on my invisibility cloak, like in Harry Potter. That was an awesome Harry Potter plot point, one of my favorite things. I just put on my cloak and then disappear, and no one would know that I was being very socially awkward and trying to dodge away from people. So one of many reasons I would like to be invisible for at least a short period of time. I think, what did you say, 12 hours? I could get all my shopping done, be super awkward, and it would all be fine. So that's one way to use it. Thanks.
Please, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I probably should have said back to you, Madam Table Topics Master, to conclude.
No, thank you. I have two screens and my mouse was stuck here and I was trying to move it here to get up myself off mute and it didn't work. But thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, I agree. That's an awesome feature, especially during this COVID time. I agree. Thank you. And who wants to be the last person to volunteer for our table topic? Ali, awesome. Do you think the world would be a better place if someone like Iron Man really existed?
Please don't use that as a filler word, please, Mr. Grammarian. All right. First, I'd like to say I did not watch the Alabama game last night, but I did catch the highlights watching Skip and Shannon, my favorite show, this morning. I do think the world would be a better place if Iron Man existed. But I low-key feel as though the modern day Iron Man is Elon Musk because of seeing what that guy's doing. That guy is unbelievable. I feel as though maybe we all are Iron Man. And when you see somebody like Elon Musk or just somebody who looks like a superhero in general, they represent hope and possibility. And that's what Iron Man represents, a guy who's not really like the most talented and God gifted, but he has this and the capability, kind of like Batman. He has no superpowers, but just all heart and brain. So I would say yes, but I feel like there's a lot of Iron Man out here. It just feels like who you identify as Iron Man. If I had a choice to be a superhero, I'd be Spider-Man, though, just saying. That's all I got to say. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Ali. Awesome. So can I get timers report, please.
Yes. So Parvinder, I got at 110. Travis, I had right at 1 minute. Vanessa, I had 159. And Ali, I had 110. So everyone qualified.
Thank you, Julian. And it was it for our tonight table topic. Yeah, table topic. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Parisa, and thank you for all of our table topics participants. I really enjoyed hearing about all of your answers to superhero themed questions. And I think superhero movies are very messy in the middle. If you're not on the edge of your seat, that superhero movie was probably not done right. For most of them, I'm usually at the edge of my seat and looking forward to what's next, and will the superhero die or save the world? And it's usually tied to a love story. So I'm really glad you chose that as a topic tonight, Parisa. Next up is the evaluation portion of our meeting, and Vanessa, our immediate past president, will serve as our general evaluator and will lead that section. Please welcome Vanessa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Balut. So the general evaluation portion of the meeting is a really great thing because it allows us all to reflect on what we did really well and what we can continue to grow on, what we can improve on. And there are two parts of this portion of the meeting. The first part is letting evaluators actually do a deep dive evaluation of our speakers. And the second part that I'll come back to is looking at the meeting as a whole. How do we do in terms of structure and organization, creativity, enthusiasm, all those great things. But to start us off, I'd like to welcome our two evaluators to do a more detailed look at our speakers. And our first evaluator this evening will be Ali Tobin. So let's give a warm round of applause to Toastmaster Ali.
Hello, guys. I will be evaluating Natalie's speech today. Natalie, so give yourself a pat on the back. I just want to leave it at that. I really don't want to say anything else, but I'm going to say something. That speech was amazing. It was better than the one you did last week, and I don't know how. I have yet to see any flaws in that speech. I low-key feel like you wake up in the morning, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you say that speech to yourself every day. And like you drive in your car and you just say the speech when you're driving. And then when you're working out, you're saying the speech when you're working out. You memorize. I think I memorized every word you said last week, and I feel as though you memorized every single word. I can tell you it took a lot of time to get prepared in that speech. Just overall, like how organized it was. I like how you utilize yourself as an example to show that your mind really controls everything that you are. And I liked how you patterned the speech out. And I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told you last week. I think if you take that speech to competitions, you can win it all. I have no criticism. I can't think of anything to say. I'm trying to think of something. I can't think of anything. Maybe change your background. I don't know, but I can't even criticize your background because it's a nice background. And back to you.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off and be rude. Well, thank you so much. I wholeheartedly agree that it was just a wonderful speech and so inspiring and personal. And it's really nice when we hear those speeches that really pertain to an individual's experience. And, you know, a lot of us can have similar experiences, even though we may not talk about it a lot with each other. And it's really heartening to hear something that really comes from the heart. And thank you both. And our next evaluator this evening will be Angelica. Let's give her a warm welcome, round of applause over Zoom.
Thank you. Ali, in general, I think that you are a very motivating and very energetic speaker. And I wasn't surprised when I learned that you are on the motivational strategic pathway, because it really fits you really well. And I think that tonight you use those skills in your speech very well. So I can see that some of that always keep the audience engaged. It was unique that you always you started with some questions, and I think that that's why we probably stay all quiet. We were not sure if we should answer, I don't know, but I think that it was a really good tool to start to get us into your speech. I think that and keep up all of us, following you through your speech. With respect to your presentation, I think that you always are using really good gestures with your hands, and again, your body is also talking about all the energy and all the motivation that you got and that you are trying to express in your speech. So I think that is really good. As well as you were very clear with your presentation. So you got first a problem. You were talking about time and how we can manage that. You also use some examples of yourself during your presentation, which I think that I usually found that is very engaging if the speaker is telling me a little bit about their own experience. So I thought that was very helpful. And at the end, you give us a solution. So I think that was very clear throughout the process. If I will say that you need to improve something, the only thing that I found is that sometimes you are looking toward maybe the floor or the room, and I think that is very difficult because we're talking to a camera, but that probably could be, just trying to engage more the camera as well. Sometimes I lost the voice, the word, and maybe also again the camera or the program, but that was the little things that I found. In general, I really appreciate your speech. I like the speech where I can take something for myself. I learn what you were saying and give me, like, I need to use my time management better. And I also like to learn about the speech, the person that's talking. I like your energy, and I try to use that in my speech for next time if I can learn. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Angelica. Excellent job evaluating. And thank you again, both to our evaluators. And Julian, I'm wondering if you could give us a quick timers report just for those two evaluations, and then we can go ahead and vote for best evaluator.
Yes, Ali, you were at 127, so you were just a couple seconds short qualifying. And Angelica, you were at 305, so you qualified.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Julian. And it's always annoying when you're a little under or over, but it's okay. It's how you learn, and you both did an excellent job. So I guess in that case, usually when someone doesn't have a time qualification, we usually will just say, okay, if there's only two, then we don't need to go ahead and vote. So we'll just kind of skip the balloting process for that. But thank you again for both evaluations. Really good points that you both brought up. And with that, I get to do a little bit of evaluation myself. And it's going to be hard for me to get through everything. I had so many wonderful comments I wrote down about each one of you participating tonight. And I'll start at the top with David, our president and presiding officer. David, I loved how you welcomed our guests. You just had a straight to the point, direct approach. You said, as is our tradition at Toastmasters, we like to welcome guests and allow them to introduce themselves. And you just brought this sense of confidence and can-do attitude to your voice that I think encouraged our guests to say, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. And it just had this really positive start off to our meeting. We kind of had this great liftoff with you kind of starting us off there. And I also loved how after each guest would introduce themselves, you would have a follow-up. You would say, oh yes, it's interesting, we have a diverse group here. And you'd mention something that related to something specific that they had shared. And that's nice because it makes someone feel heard. When you can follow up after they've finished speaking and say something, it just kind of makes people feel good. So thank you for doing that. Our Toastmaster Balut, excellent job with your interesting theme. Sometimes our themes can get a little bit stereotypical and maybe just one word and a little bit cheesy, but I loved how you were really creative. You chose a theme of messy in the middle, which is open to interpretation. I think it's really thought-provoking. And you just did a seamless job of integrating each new role. I just didn't even notice your transitions. They were so smooth. So you're just a natural with that role. For our inspirational message, Elvis, excellent job. I honestly thought you could make that into a speech. And I almost forgot that you were simply doing an inspirational quote, and it turned into a speech. It was wonderful. It was so creative. And you mentioned our Turk Akbey, our, I believe, former member. He may still be a member, but it was great to hear about his book. And some may not know that we actually do have Queen City alumni who have gone on to make speaking a part of their career. And it's really been a launching pad. So that's great when you bring that in and people know about that. One thing I'd noticed is that because you were so detailed, I almost was wondering, are we running out of time? I just wanted to make sure. And, actually it was fine. We only had 2 speeches tonight, so your inspiration fit in really nicely. But it did make me realize I should mention that we do want to be conscious of time when we're doing a role, because especially if we have 3 or more speeches, we don't want to take up too much time. And in this case, it was actually great. It was perfect how you did that, but something that I need to work on too. I'm continuing talking, so I need to wrap it up. But on to our grammarian, David, kudos on taking on 2 roles. And I loved your word of the day, Alabama. I don't really know much about sports, but I've been hearing about it a lot. So now I kind of feel like, okay, that's a clever tie-in. And just, as always, I'm sure you'll do a really great job coming up soon as grammarian. Our timer, Julian, you had such great volume. You were so clear when you spoke. I just felt like you had been doing this for ages when I heard you introduce the timer role. So excellent job. And of course, our speakers, Natalie and Ali, very uplifting, very motivational, very positive, really good when we're off to this new year and still feeling a bit of the clouds of the pandemic and so on. It's great to hear something so uplifting and inspiring like that. Our table topics superpowers theme was very inventive, Parisa, and I was not expecting to be asked about an invisibility superpower. I didn't know what to expect, but that was so creative, and I think those are the best ones because you have to force yourself to think really creatively and just come up with something and just start telling a story, and that's really fun. So good job with that. And with that, I'll turn it back to the rest of our general evaluation, which includes our grammarian's report, because I can't be the only one evaluating. We got to have some more specialists here. So I'll turn it over to our grammarian, David Jones.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. As far as the word of the day goes, I heard Vanessa slip it in at the end in a sentence, so we'll give it to her, but also heard Ali and Balut use it, and then our guest, Parvinder used it. So that was great. I don't know if anybody else used it, but I believe it was just the 4 of you. Now, as far as our grammar went, we did pretty good. I'll start at the back because I just did what Angelica did. Angelica did 1 and it was at the very beginning of your evaluation, and then after that, you were good. I usually start off really nervous and make ums and so's, and that's pretty much where you started, and then you were perfect after that. Vanessa, your word is always so. I've noticed that for 1.5 years now. So it doesn't seem like you're going to get away from so, but so you've used it multiple times, and maybe it's just part of your speech. So we'll just deal with it. Travis, you were good. I didn't hear any filler words. Parvinder, you used the word so twice, which was very minimal. Parisa, you also like the word so. Ali, so. Natalie, only 1 so, and you did a very long speech, so that was good. Balut, we had a couple so's and 1 and Julian, a couple so's and uhs, but those were also at the very beginning when you were introducing your role, but after that, you got clean, you got more comfortable, and I believe that's it. Elvis was good, he didn't have anything, and I think there's 1 more. Travis was clean. Yeah, everybody did pretty good tonight, so Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, David, for an excellent grammarian's report. Great to be aware of our choice filler words. There are some words that, and in particular with me and so, I sometimes forget that I'm saying it, and it's good to have a reminder that, oh yeah, I have to watch that I'm pausing instead of saying so or and, to just keep talking and talking. So that's an excellent point you made there. And I think at that point, in the general evaluation, we are going to wrap up. So I will turn it back to our Toastmaster of the evening, Balut.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I want to end our meeting's last portion with a thought, and what was not messy in the middle, and that's this meeting. I think, I can't believe we came to the end of it. It went so smoothly. I want to thank everyone for their participation and engagement throughout. So thank you. And before we close, I'd like to ask our president to share the results of the polls that he has published.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Starting in at our table topics, the favorite table topics winner of the night is Vanessa. So congratulations to Vanessa. And by default, Angelica was our evaluator of the night, and I think she did a really great job. It was her first time doing it. And our speaker of the night was Ali. Congratulations, Ali. I'll turn it back to you for a minute, Mr. Toastmaster, if you had anything else.
I do not. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time and engagement.
All right, and I just wanted to end the meeting. We're actually a couple minutes ahead. We usually try to close it out at 7:30, which I just wanted to mention going forward. For instance, next week we have 3 speakers, and I have a feeling we're going to have more and more speakers coming up. In the old days, it was 1 hour because we had to drive to the Vine and then we had to drive home. Well, now we don't have to drive. Hopefully some of you will be okay with us going over an hour, because I have a feeling when we have 3 speakers, we're probably going to go over 1 hour. So it's something just to think about, that you might be here more than an hour when we have 3 speakers like next week. And if you can stay after for the post toasties, we have a few roles that need to be filled and some things we can talk about, or if you have any of the guests have any questions, that would be great. And before we go with my last 2 minutes, I just wanted to circle back to our guests, starting with our newest member, guest, Adana. Do you have any feedback or thoughts about tonight's meeting? And you're on mute, sorry. That seems to be the word of the year. You're on mute.
Sorry. No, I thought it was great. This was the first time that I participated, so I wanted to understand what the flow was and kind of the different activities that you did. So I thought it was really great, and I see how everybody gets involved and receives training.
Perfect. Yeah. Each role, everybody that spoke tonight signed up for that role, and that's how you get involved. So it's a great way to just get going. So I appreciate your feedback. And Parvinder, I love that name. It's such a, I don't know any other Parvinders. I bet nobody else does either. But any feedback on your part?
Thank you. I think it was great, and this is my second time. It's been amazing, and everything was on time. That really makes me wonder, like how much preparation do you guys put into it? But it was really amazing. Although I have one question, and I can reach out to someone you can give contact. Like I would like to join the group, and if there are any formalities, I just want to know.
Okay. Were you gonna say something, Ali?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can I do my job real quick? What I'll do is you can message me your email address. You can message me your phone number also on here. I'll take a screenshot of it, and I'll get in contact with you to get you certified as a member of the group. And then I forget all the time. Can I just get a reminder from Balut overall cost it is to join the group?
Yes. So overall, there's a one-time fee to become a member of Toastmasters International, and that is $20. And every 6 months, it is $75. And depending on the month you join, that number is prorated. So the $75 is due in April for the following 6 months, and again in September for the following 6 months. Because you'd be joining in January, that number is prorated, and it would be, so normally it's $12.50 every month, $5 of which is for Queen City Club. That is waived until the end of March, so you won't have to pay that this time. And then $750 for the international group. So in that case, it would be $750 times 3, 22.5, plus the one-time fee, 20. That is $42.50 if you join this month.
Thank you.
Got your information, and then Dana, am I pronouncing that right?
Dana,
I have your information also.
perfect.
And when you do all become members, please reach out to me and I'll coordinate the payment with you. And I'll put the email address in the chat for you to reach out to me once you all coordinate the rest with Ali.
Perfect. That's good information. And Travis, we enjoy seeing you every week lately. It's been great. So any thoughts on your part? We're glad that you're participating with us.
Not too much. I really do enjoy them. I think it's concise and organized, and you all do a very good job conducting the meetings.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. And we appreciate having you. Thank you. Great. And it's 7:31, so we'll bring the meeting to a close. But you're welcome to stay for the post toasties afterwards, and we can just chat off the records. In fact, I'll stop the recording. Unfortunately, I started the recording a little late because I'm not used to doing it. So we only got half of Elvis's speech, but we got the rest of the meeting for everybody to follow back. And I'm doing that. I'm putting it on our YouTube channel so you all can go watch yourselves and see how you did. And it's just a little bit more feedback on what you did. So I'm going to turn it off.